Once again, hello everyone, I'm Richard Fredrickson, and this is Profiles, a special kind of profiles we do about 3 or 4 times a year to get an update on the city of Joliet with the mayor of Joliet, Mayor Bob Dekirk, and it's good to see you again,
You too,
sir.
thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go quickly through a lot of these questions because some take a little more time than others.
Sure.
But I'm sure that you will find this interesting and most importantly informative. And by the way, don't forget, that is, what is it, the first week of each month and the third week and then the fourth week are city council meetings, and they are broadcast on this station, okay? So you can keep updated. So let's get an update on the water.
Okay, well, that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
I think people know we're sitting on an aquifer here in Joliet that's going to run out in the next 10, 15, 20 years. It's a regional issue. It isn't a Joliet issue. So, for example, Aurora is facing the same problems on the same aquifer. They began making the switch about 30 or 35 years ago. We're a little bit late to the game, but a couple years ago I put together the environmental committee, which had been on the books. It was an ordinance, but had been sitting vacant. They were tackled with going through the process of not selecting, but making an advisory opinion on the new source of water. So currently we're on phase 2 engineering for the project. We're hoping to have that wrapped up and have the committee make a recommendation by November or December, and then have it presented to the city council. And the city council make a final choice for the new source of water either by the end of this year or very early next year.
Okay. So, what, 3 sources?
Yeah, they narrowed it down to 3. Initially, there were, I think, 15 different options that were being looked at.
Wow.
They narrowed it down to Lake Michigan, the Illinois River, or the Kankakee River. Out of that, there are different options. Obviously, with Lake Michigan, there's a number of different ways to get the water from the lake. City of Chicago, City of Hammond, Southland Water Commission, different groups are buy it wholesale from Oak Lawn or Harvey. So there's a lot of different options, but they're going to make recommendations to the council on the source, and then we'll move forward from there.
I saw on Facebook the other day, again, this is always dangerous when people don't do their research. And I think this person didn't do their research, but it is a question that people will have for you. And that is, wait a minute, Lake Michigan level of water is way up with all the rain that we've had the last couple of years, actually building some supports to keep the water off of Lakeshore Drive, et cetera. So if the lake is that high, probably the aquifers are also rising because of all the rain.
Right. Well, I'm not an engineer, but I think that's way off. The lake is rising. The aquifer is going down. And again, it's an estimate when they say 15 or 20 years, but those are the best scientific data. The rain does not, the aquifer is so deep, apparently the rain does not trickle into the aquifer. There is some question about what will happen when the big cities like Joliet and Aurora get off this. Aurora right now gets about 50% of their water from the aquifer, about 50% from the, whatever river runs through
Fox
Aurora.
River?
Fox River,
Fox
thank
River.
you. So once we stop drawing off of that, what's going to happen to the levels? I've been told they are going to continue to decrease, that the smaller cities that are waiting are making a mistake. But again, I think that's a little bit of a guess. At some point, the aquifer will recharge itself, but it's hard to tell if that's 50, 100 years, or 1,000 years before it recharges.
Yeah, I think one of the cable shows that I watched with one of the hearings, the hydrologist, I think that's the title, said it takes like 1 million years for that thing to get back. And probably outside chance we won't be here for that. So here is a question I know you're just so excited about telling me about. We don't have to go into the whole episodes, but city manager, is it search begun? The flashlight's on? Are we looking around? Can we proceed?
As of Friday, we have posted the job, so you're right. It's been a very bumpy road to get to this point. This is mid-September now. The process started in May. So, yeah, without going through all the ups and downs, we currently are advertising for city manager. It's being done in-house. We are not going through an outside agency like we have for the last 2 city managers. We've been told that we're going to get a very limited pool of candidates because of all the shenanigans that have gone on here, that a lot of qualified people probably wouldn't apply for the Joliet job at this point, not knowing how secure the job would be or even how secure the city council is right now. So that it's unfortunate. And I'll leave my comments at that. But yeah, we have begun the application process.
So that puts whoever these, I know your committee, you appointed a committee, what, Turk, Quinlan and yourself?
Right. We are going to do basically the job that or one of the jobs that the agencies we are hiring we're doing. We're going to vet the applicants. Last time we put in for it, I think the number was 87 people applied for the city of Joliet. We didn't do 87 interviews in front of the council. It was narrowed down. We went through, first of all, people who just didn't meet the qualifications. There was limited background checks. Out of that, maybe I think 12 of the applicants were passed through to the council as a whole, and then the interview process began. And it was a long interview process through those 12 people. So myself and Councilwoman Quillman and Councilman Turk are going to do that initial vetting process and then get whatever number to the council for the interview process.
And I may have missed this, but when do you think that process will, are we looking at the end of the year? Are we looking at the early part, first quarter of 2020? When do you think that, not necessarily the city manager being hired, but the candidates being shared with the council?
I'd say, that's probably going to happen within the next 60 days. There's, I think, a 30-day window to apply, and then from there, there'll be some time, again, someone hands you an application, there has to be some verification process. So that'll be done. City staff is going to help with that. But I would imagine towards the end of the year, and I don't know how close to the holidays will be, but that's when the actual interview process will start, would be my guess.
Downtown Joliet, over the years, has had several master plans, and now they have the most comprehensive one they had in years. But now we're widening up the scope, and I don't remember the last time that the city had a citywide comprehensive plan, but there's one on the table, or one going to be on the table soon.
It has, but it got stalled at the committee level, but not shut down. I guess they just wanted to tweak some things, so that's going to come forward. I think it's long overdue. There's a map behind you on the wall. You look at the boundaries of the city, it's probably unlike any city I've ever seen before. But yeah, with all the development that's happened to the south and to the west, I think it's probably, I think it was flawed that the city didn't have a master plan. So again, there's no sense complaining about what didn't happen, but let's fix the problem. There still is unlike a lot of cities as old as Joliet, there is a ton of room for more. The city's going to continue to grow, would be my guess, over the next 30, 40 years. But when we do so, I think it should be in a controlled manner, where we're not just grabbing land, but instead there's a plan behind it, an idea behind what the city's doing in the big picture.
Lots of positive things happening in the city of Joliet, but as all the cities and villages and counties have a problem of one level or another with crime. Now, has this gang issue, has this, become more apparent over the years? I thought at one time it was decreasing. Is it increasing now, or is it just the fact that we have more media covering everything?
I think that's part of it. When I was a police officer, there was no online newspapers or even Facebook, and I think that adds some of the fuel to the fire. However, when you look at the numbers for this year, the homicides are up, the shootings are up. There's no doubt about that. They definitely have spiked this year from where they've been the last few years. Having said that, Joliet is not as violent as it was back in the 1990s or the late 1980s. So the trend is going in the wrong direction. I think where it's become a little bit more of a problem for the average Joliet person is that you're seeing violent crimes and shootings, drive-by shootings in areas that never had this before. And I think that's, again, it's a disturbing trend that needs to be addressed. I think a lot of it used to be more localized to specific neighborhoods on the east side of Joliet or maybe on the near west side, but now it's happening all over. I think as a lot of the public housing has been torn down on the east side, I think the numbers it's about 50-50. I think that the Housing Authority tracks about half of the people have left the city, the other half haven't, and it seems like many of them are located in all throughout the city, and with that, you're bringing some level of crime that never existed before. So it's unfortunate. I know the chief and the police department are definitely on top of it. They understand they have different challenges now than how it was 30 years ago.
Speaking of challenges,
Okay.
Some of the cities, even in Will County, have said no to this issue about cannabis. Joliet, in some measured way, has said yes.
Well, we've had a business in town that serves or has sold medical marijuana for several years now. A very reputable business. There's never been any problem. I don't know if I've ever had calls for service with them. They have been granted by the state of Illinois 2 licenses to sell recreational marijuana, which is a big deal in that market. Getting that license was very, very competitive. I think the application fee just to apply for that license was $250,000. So it's not something that everyone out there was just putting in for. It was a lucrative investment. So we have them in town already. It hasn't come in front of the council yet. I've kind of done, not an informal poll, but I've talked to a few council people. It seems to me that the support is there for it. But ultimately, I think probably about the time this airs, it's going to be an issue that's in front of the council. We did not, I spoke with the city manager. There was talk about sending the proposal through the committee level, and we thought because of the issue, it shouldn't just be 3 council people having their say. Theoretically, it should go to the entire council. So I think that's what we're going to do, so all 9 on the council have a say in what's going to happen with that.
Speaking of having to say things, we started off with the water issue, and I should have followed up with this one, but I'll do it now.
Right.
And that is, we still have this Army Corps of Engineers and talking about certain sections of downtown Joliet in the floodplain.
Right.
Update on that?
Well, I spoke with the interim city manager, Steve Jones, earlier today about that. We are in the process. We're working on 3 or 4 different fronts. We're certainly working on the political front with our representatives in Washington, trying to get them to have the Army Corps change their ruling or their findings. We also are moving forward on the more practical front of having to build a levee. It's very frustrating because we are in the position of spending $3 or $4 million to build a levee on a river that's never flooded, in a river that's controlled by locks, so theoretically you never will flood. But without doing that, the United States Army Corps of Engineers, through their ruling, has rezoned probably about half of the east side and most of downtown is now in a floodplain, which has caused their insurance rates to skyrocket, which has injured our attempts at all the revitalization of what we're doing downtown and on the east side. So it's money we're probably going to have to spend. It's a waste, and it's a shame that's fallen on the backs of Joliet taxpayers. Apparently, this isn't just a Joliet issue. This has happened all over the country where that arm of the federal government has taken a different approach to how they designate floodplains. So it's a problem. I will add, because you talked earlier about the city manager search, this is, I think, a real-time example of what's happened on the city council. When Mr. Shanahan was demoted, this issue got put on hold. This is something that he was actively working on. So I know some of us have warned, that the reckless actions of others on the council for whatever they made those decisions, it's going to have a real effect. This is one that I could see it's had a real effect. And for the downtown businesses or the east side residents that are going to see their tax or their property insurance rise, I wouldn't say it's the fault of the city council, but the actions of the council have definitely hampered on this issue. It slowed down what we were trying to do.
We have some consequences.
Yes.
The one development that is on the table and is, if you drive by it, you see things happening. And they're not in the floodplain. And that is, if you haven't heard, there's a new hotel going up, or will be going up in downtown Joliet.
That's right, yes.
And I believe it's a Marriott.
I believe so, yeah, on Ottawa Street.
He's looking around for a couple of different deals on financing, but I think it looks like it's a go. And it's right across from Harris, and you got the fencing up, you got things happening, and I think they've already done. If you ever watch whatever that channel is where they do the houses, they like demo day.
Right.
Looks like demo day has taken place already inside that.
I think they are demoing the inside. There's work on the parking lot in the back, and then the ongoing work on all the sewers and then the streets downtown. There's a lot happening down here.
There is a lot happening downtown. I know you've been a part of many of these, and you're usually at all of them. But again, I want to repeat this kind of a thing because sometimes people get the idea, there's a shooting isolated on the east side on the Collins Street, not downtown, but people say, there's all kinds of crime going on there. We just finished last weekend with Fiesta and Calle, 8,000 people.
Right.
That parade, I I don't know, 5, 6, 7,000 people watching that.
Yeah, it's probably mostly kids.
Yeah.
Thousands of youngsters.
And
Yeah, it was a great day, but yeah, I know where you're going with the
And,
question.
well, I mean, we have Race Fan Rally, we've got Brews and Blues, we've got Star Wars, where thousands of people, of which thousands of those people are coming from the whole Chicagoland area, and some are coming in actually planning holidays around that from all over the country. So we've been successful with events and activities and more to come. Of course, we've got the day after Thanksgiving parade, light up the holidays coming up here. And not too distant.
If I could add to that, though, successful and safe. Every one of those
Yes.
events have gone out very well, including this last weekend. There, at the parade, which wasn't downtown, it was on Collins Street, there was a shooting. It was 2 gang members, a 2-6 gang member shot at a Latin King gang member. So it's, you know, it's something that is never acceptable. But it was at the end of the parade. It was a little bit off of Collins Street, but the festival downtown with the 8,000 people that were there, once again, went off without a hitch. So I think that has to be stressed because, of course, that doesn't get reported. What gets reported is the negative,
Right.
and deservedly so. But I think people need to understand
Well,
what's really happening.
That's why we do
downtown.
the show, so that people can see beyond the internet or beyond what we might be seeing in print as well. Speaking of events, there was a certain band with a certain mayor playing drums as we began the very successful Joliet Historical Museum's prison break-in event, second time,
Yeah.
pretty successful.
Yeah, they did well again, and I give the museum a lot of credit. The prison overall has done well. My understanding, they're in the black for this year. So there was some money spent last year on security and some other things, but they have it to a point now where the tourism and the different events they're doing at the prison is generating money that they could put back into the prison. So that's something we're going to have to work on. I don't know if I'll be able to do it with Steve Jones or, again, have to wait for the next city manager, but we have to get back down to Springfield and work on more of a longer-term agreement. There's a lot of private vendors that want to come and invest, if not in the prison, but in some of the facilities or in the land, but they want to do it knowing without like a 5-year lease that has 2 years left on it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it would be a shame if someone in the state decided, okay, Joliet's did a great job cleaning this place up, now we'll take it back.
Well, it would be. I don't anticipate. I don't think they have any use for it. But I even if that happened and the state were to take it over, it's still a plus. That was a negative. It was blight, and
Yeah.
it was sitting there unchecked for 20 years. So the cleanup, I think, in one way or another, had to happen. The level of volunteerism that let it happen, I think, surprised all of us. But
I take my secret shortcut to downtown Joliet that I don't tell anybody about. I take Route 6. And I saw the progress going on, which I think is the progress of that project, the Rock Run, is it called the Rock Run, or the bridge over the Des Plaines River?
on Route 6. Oh yes, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Hobart
Yeah.
Road, and, yeah.
Yeah, they. I'd say in that project we're on the 5-yard line. The money's there. The private money's been lined up. I think all the permits are lined up. Everyone has signed off on it. There's some negotiation going on, I think, with the county about the toll rate, and there's some things with the city that needed to be cleaned up in the lease agreement. But that, as far as I could tell, that project 100% is going to happen.
Well, there's work going on out there
Yes.
as we're talking here right now. In that same area, the I-80, I-55, what's happening with that? I don't want to call it a shopping center. It's not a shopping center.
No,
but
it's
an
not.
Entertainment, dining.
Right, housing, offices. It's a major development. Again, they are at the point they're working with the state and with the federal government. For them to move forward, they need to have the interchange off of I-55 to be built. It has to be built out, but they need the commitment that it's going to be built. So they've probably invested $20 million of their own money. They're serious. I know they have tenants lined up. They're just basically at the point right now, they're waiting to get that commitment from the state that the interchange will be built, and then they're going to move the project forward. So I don't think it's been stalled. I think it's part of the process, and I think they're excited. I think they believe that there's going to be announcements relatively soon on that. So it's kind of a wait and see for the city right now, but once that commitment comes from the state that the funding will be there for that interchange, as far as I know, it's going to be full speed ahead on that.
And for those of you watching us right now, you need to go out there and get yourself at least a grocery cart. You know, one of those real big ones you can put all kinds of stuff in. because how is the progress coming along on Route 30 and I-55? Our friends in Plainfield and Joliet have got something up your sleeve.
Yeah, that was, I really give, well, I thank you to Plainfield for negotiating and working with us, but I give our team and Steve Jones and Derek Conley a real good job on that. The Cub Foods is going to be in inside Plainfield, but to access that property at the old truck stop, you had to go through Joliet. So the city owns maybe 15 or 20% of that property, and with that, we've negotiated a really good deal with Plainfield. The city is going to share in the revenue on that property. Yeah. So
there is a mall that we were very excited about when it was built, and has been tremendously great at generating revenue over the years. But now, as you drive by, I went to the theater last night to watch a movie with my wife, and Sears and all those empty lots over there with the Louis Joliet Mall. Right. Conversation with the owners over there, are they planning to redevelop that area? Yeah,
they came forward last year with a plan. I think they realize they're going to have to change the approach like every other mall. It would appear that malls themselves are going, again, they're facing challenges that everyone else is facing. So they talked about, again, more of a stress on entertainment and housing and different things on that property. So I do think they have a plan. Again, they're still operating, but I think they see the writing on the wall that it's just a matter of time before either they modify their operations and change the way they're doing things, or they're just not going to exist anymore.
The other area that we haven't talked much about, and I haven't heard much about this, maybe an update, as we came in here, Steve Jones passed us by here. That is, it's either a TIF/SSA area. I think it's a TIF area that you're planning around that St. Joe's neighborhood?
Yes.
St. Joseph Hospital?
Yes. Yeah, the idea was, and it was a hospital that brought it forward, but the idea was is to, the taxes that are generated on that property, to have them reinvested in that property. St. Joe's, I believe, is the largest employer inside the city of Joliet, and we know that there are a lot of people that are coming to the hospital from outside our community. So, you have the offices there, but there's an economic engine there. And there was some concerns as the neighborhood gets older that things were deteriorating. They're starting to look worse than they should. So I love the idea of reinvesting in that property. And, you have to thank St. Joe's for staying in Joliet. Silvercross didn't do that, but St. Joe's has stayed inside the city of Joliet. So I think it's great that we're working with them to reinvigorate that property.
Is there anything I'm missing here?
I don't know. You're throwing a lot.
Well, I give you an opportunity because we do this sort of kind of on a quarterly basis and sometimes a little longer than others. I'm thinking ahead that we'd probably be back here in the mayor's office right around Christmas. So you get an opportunity to give your Thanksgiving.
Well, and Halloween. Yeah.
And Halloween and Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Halloween. Have a safe and happy Halloween and happy Thanksgiving. Everyone who's traveling, please stay safe on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. I'm Richard Fredrickson, the mayor of Joliet.